Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because I'm reviewing Outlaws as well as the Handful of Missions remaster from Atari and Nightdive. And I still remember this game fondly from back in the day because in the 90s, if a new first-person shooter was out and reviewed well, you better damn well know I wanted to pick it up for my PC and play it. And I remember being very amused by the Outlaws and just basically really appreciating the fact that it was in a completely different kind of environment than every other first-person shooter out there actually used. And that's just because LucasArts kind of always made the games they wanted to make, but even for LucasArts, a first-person shooter set in a Western theme was definitely something you didn't expect, but it was fun back in the day and it's definitely fun now. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. And this is definitely one in a long line of Nightdive remasters, which absolutely still is a masterclass in how to revive an old game for a modern audience. Nightdive is basically firing on all cylinders and absolutely killing it when it comes to these things. Pun very much intended, because they remastered Killing Time, my favorite first-person shooter game of all time. But honestly, Outlaws has a lot to love, and I feel like it's a game that maybe some people skipped over back in the day. And even though you can load up the original on PCs and definitely check it out, there's so many quality of life improvements here in this remaster, as well as improved visuals. I think it'll definitely help it get a little bit bigger of an audience. But you tell me down below, did you play the Outlaws back in the day or not? I remember having this game, but none of my friends were really interested in it. I think it's just because it didn't involve Duke Nukem, something like Doom or Blood. People wanted that gore and horror, and this game definitely had a lot more storyline and a lot more going on in that respect, but definitely didn't have that kind of demons, monsters vibe thing going on. But honestly, LucasArts always made incredible games. Obviously, Dark Forces being their #1 first-person shooter and something we've already seen a remaster of, but it makes perfect sense that someone like Nightdive would come in and remaster Outlaws as well, because it definitely is a game deserving of that. Now, as far as the game in and of itself is concerned, it's going to be the same level structure, the same story, and the same overall level layout that you remember. And that's going to be both a good thing and ever so slightly a bad thing in my opinion, because I will say Outlaws heavily depends on finding keys and opening doors, which was a trope of the first-person shooter genre back in the 90s, but in some instances the design and level layout could use a little bit of an improvement. Now, that is not a strike against Atari or Nightdive whatsoever. They remaster games and make them look better and perform better, but they leave the content for the most part as is, so you can enjoy the same experience that you did back in the day. On Outlast side of things, every once in a while, the levels are absolutely expansive, and you might have to retread the same territory more than once to find the items you need to progress, because this game doesn't have a lot of levels, but the levels that are inside of it are absolutely massive and take way longer than your average Doom, Blood, Heretic, Hexen level, or any other first-person shooter there. And the one thing that I still love that they kept in, even though you can use a cheat code to do it automatically, is you have to hold down the reload button and watch in real time as the main character reloads the weapon. It isn't just one click or one push and automatically done. It actually kind of affects the gunfights, and it will take you a minute to remember how to do it if you haven't played this game in forever. It is a really nice touch of realism, but do be aware that there is a code in the game from the original that still works here in the remaster that allows for automatic reloading. And the best part is every single code that I used to use back in the day, a couple of which I actually remembered off the top of my head, will still work here in this remaster, so if you want to cheat to your heart's content, you can do that as well. But off the top, as far as remasters are concerned, I think the world of Outlaws looks absolutely stunning in this remastered version. It still has the same grit, grime, colorways of a Western, but now looks a lot better, with a lot of good texture filtering and even a lot of improvements when it comes to the enemy sprites. But the nice thing is, and I will show you later on in this video, you can revert basically back to the original graphics as well, having all of the modern quality of life improvements to the game, while still maintaining the original visual stylings. And I really like that Nightdive leaves that in basically all of their remasters, so if you just want an easier to run version of a game that you love, but you want it to look exactly like it did back in the 90s, you can totally achieve that too. And I get that the Outlaws was not the most beloved game back in the day, and I think again it's just because it was very story heavy, which was strange for us, which leads us into the first soundtrack and story sample, and I'll be right back.
Lies over the ocean. My bone lies over the sea.
Well, you ain't heard a word I said.
She got a voice on her, almost as pretty as yours, Anna.
Shall I write a list for you?
Nope. Got it in my head, ain't I?
You better had.
2 pounds of flour, 1 ham salted, 1 pound of sugar, fruit if they got any. Calico, 8 yards, and, if there's any cash left, some of that flowery water.
Rose water.
Yeah, rose water. I think that just about covers it.
Marshall James Anderson buying perfume. This is history.
This is marriage.
The sound reproduction, all of the actual voice tracks there, and even the cutscenes have been so lovingly handled by Nightdive. The story comes across as well as it did back in the 90s and even better. But that's, I think, why maybe Outlaws was not as big of a hit back in the day as it could have been. That sort of storytelling in a first-person shooter game was something that you didn't get. As far as Doom, Duke Nukem 3D, think of the story in there. It's basically done in a couple of lines of text and you move on just to get into the gunfight. This game was definitely made for maybe a smarter or more engrossed player that wanted to have sort of that LucasArts adventure storytelling in a first-person shooter game, but that definitely, I feel like, probably limited their market as well. And you will see here, even in the water, everything works perfectly, and you do have these new water effects which can be turned on or off. It basically just makes the game look pretty enough, but also allows you to go back to the originals at the same time. But as far as Nightdive remastering games, obviously Killing Time will always be my favorite because I think that one is the biggest hidden gem out there. But Outlaws deserves a much bigger audience, and it is going to get it in a release like this. And again, the handful of missions also included in the package. As far as the controls, as far as the aiming are concerned, as far as actually playing the game, it is exactly what you need, which is to say, you're just playing the game, everything works, and you stop thinking about the fact that it's a remaster, how you're controlling it, and you just get into firefights and have a fun time. Now, of course, you can get stuck on a little bit of the geometry here, and that's just something that always happened back in the day, but that does seem to be accurate to the experience I would have had when I played this game. But again, I am curious, did you check out Outlaws back in the day, and what did you think about it? It is just one of those titles I never really hear many people mention it whatsoever. Every once in a while, it'll show up on a list of unloved games, first-person shooters from the era, and obviously Star Wars definitely takes up all the oxygen in the room when it comes to LucasArts first-person shooter games, but this one definitely deserves more credit, even if it does have to be compared against a franchise which is absolutely a global juggernaut. And I think that's also why maybe Outlaws didn't get all of the love it deserved back in the 90s, just for the fact that obviously when you're trying to compete against Star Wars as a game that has no franchise behind it, you're basically guaranteed to come in second place. But that really is why I love Nightdive. They give these games the love and attention they deserve, and I think exceptionally here, the sprites on the enemies just look so good. They still have their original animation, they still have their original vibe, but they also look for a more modern audience. And it also has a lot of the stupidity in the game that it did back in the days, because some of the AI pathfinding here is every bit as janky as the original game, but that's how I like my remasters kept. I want the same feel, I want the same dumb enemies, I want to go through this game absolutely guns blazing like a real western, feeling like I'm almost invincible when I am playing it right. And honestly, it has one of the best sawed-off shotguns in gaming, never going to come to the caliber of something like Doom 2, but it gets pretty close. And you'll see here, if I go back to the original graphics, you can still stay in 16:9, but you can turn all the filtering off. But a soundtrack sampled 2 times with some music, and I'll be right back. I mean, hell, for the soundtrack alone, playing the remaster of Outlaws would be 100% worth it. And if you never played this game back in the day and you're looking for a classic kind of boomer shooter style game, you could do a lot worse than this. With Nightdive's reworking of basically every single asset, bringing this game into the modern era, it is a ton of fun. And honestly, I have absolutely no idea what this is selling for. I get the review codes from Nightdive early, but I do want to let you know that I did get this review code for free. But of course, like everything, I am under no existing conditions to say anything about the game other than what comes to mind. And I absolutely love this one, and I think Nightdive again is just 100% continuing their streak when it comes to absolutely nailing these remasters. I think it's really good for retro gaming in general and even for modern audiences, because if you love this game back in the day, you get a brand new, better version to play. And if you missed it back in the day, you can jump in right here. And even if maybe you weren't alive when this game came out, it is still worth checking out, and now feels like something that could have come out in 2025 with a retro aesthetic. But we're done. I'm going to leave you with one more cutscene in the end, because again, a lot of what makes the Outlaws so good is the story and the voice acting and music. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you plan on playing this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
No, please, don't shoot no more. They took her north. Said something about picking up the train at Wellington, then heading on to Cortez. Said you'd never find them there. Just don't shoot me.
How do I know you're telling the truth?
'Cause I don't want to die. Damn it! I told that fool doctor stealing your kid weren't gonna be good for anyone's health.
It's a shame he didn't listen.